We've got our Obamacare expert coming up next. He's in more details about the effed up thing than you even know. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show. Self. The Armstrong and Getty Show. How goes it?
Our Obamacare correspondent, Craig the lawyer, joins us. Craig the attorney, not to be confused with Tim the lawyer.
Tim is a fine man. It's an honor to be on the hottest show on the West Coast, even if it is Race Bait Wednesday.
Thanks, Craig. So what should we know? What's the latest re-Obamacare?
Well, a couple things going on. First and foremost, the people I have connected within the exchanges and the insurance side are telling me that we've got literally 1 month to clean up these websites. The problem you have is that because the websites are so excruciatingly, painfully difficult to navigate, that very few people are actually getting through and signing up, as you guys have reported. Well, guess who those people are? Those are the people with the largest incentive to sign up. Those are the sickest, oldest, poorest people,
right?
i.e. the people the insurance company needs the least. The insurance company, as you have reported, need the youngest and healthiest people to sign up. So because the websites are as bad as they are, we have a horrific adverse selection problem.
Sure, and I remember being 25. Well, heck, it's still true now to a certain extent, but certainly when I was 25, if it's the least bit difficult to sign up, I get a problem once. Forget it. I've already started thinking about something else. I'll never get back around to it again. I just don't care enough.
No, it's incredibly tough. And so as you can imagine, the only people who really are going to take the time to do it are the worst off. And those are the ones we don't need an exchange. And so from what I'm hearing on the insurance side, this could be a death spiral that if it's not corrected by Thanksgiving at the latest, it'll be too late.
God dang it.
These things will be poisoned.
That is something I haven't been hearing enough about, is just the mathematics of this. If the young people don't sign up, and as George Will said over the weekend, it would be an incredible act of mass irrationality if young people sign up by the millions for this.
Wow.
It makes no sense. It's cheaper to not sign up and pay the fine, and you don't need the health insurance. You haven't had it for years. You're fine with it. So if they don't sign up, how quickly does it just completely collapse?
Very quickly. The problem will be, what do we do? They'll have to delay the individual mandate. I mean, even though we've talked about before, the individual mandate is kind of a joke with all the exceptions, they'll have to delay it for PR reasons, but you're going to have insurers wanting to pull out of the system entirely. And then we're going to have a come-to-Jesus moment. Are we going to go single-payer,
yes,
or are we going to go free market, which is, I think, the debate you all want to have.
And single-payer is the government is in charge of all health care.
Yeah, it'd be like Medicare and Medicaid for everybody.
Which may have been the point all along.
Certainly may have been. I mean, there's certainly people in the administration, from what I'm hearing, that do want it to work, but there very well may be people that don't want it to work.
Well, if you tend to be, at least left-ish, and you like the way Obamacare works because you also like the free market and you realize America might not be ready for that. But your fallback position is if it all falls apart, you go single payer. I mean, that's
your plan B is a good one, then, isn't it, for you? I mean, in that category. Hey, the other one, guys, I know we're tight on time, is and this one is really underreported. So I have contacts in 3 different states that I've been following really clearly. Sadly enough, California is the least forthcoming with some of this data, so I don't have good data there, but. Oregon, Minnesota, and Washington are 3 state-run exchanges. So remember, if the blue states for the most part said, hey, we're in with Obamacare, we'll open our own exchange, the red states for the most part said, forget that, federal government, you do it. And the federal exchanges, which is most of the states, they're actually running more poorly. So I've cherry-picked 3 states that are running well, Washington, Minnesota, and Oregon. Of the people who are applying for Obamacare, so they put out these numbers last week. For example, Oregon put out the number of 56,000 applications. Well, when you dig into those applications, what you learn is every single one of those was for Medicaid, not private insurance, because those people had low enough incomes that they could be shuttled onto the government program.
Because they changed the standards for that.
They changed the standards. So it used to be that if you were at 1 times the federal poverty level, you qualified for Medicaid. Now most states have gone to a standard of 1.3 or 1.35 times the federal poverty level. They've made it a bigger window. 1/3 more people can go on. So because the system doesn't work, and in fact Oregon's private exchange wasn't even operational last week, but they were touting 56,000 applicants, those weren't applicants. Those were people that already qualified for Medicaid, didn't know it, called the call center, and just got shuttled over onto the government teat, as Krautheimer would say.
All of them.
In Oregon, it was all 5,600, and we only know this because the private exchange wasn't actually operational for insurers when they reported the statistic.
Wow.
In Minnesota, it was 3,800 applicants, and the insurance industry later reported of those 3,800, only 406 were to private insurers. In the state of Washington, which is widely being held as the number one success story right now, they had 25,000 applicants last week. Of those, 10% were actually applications for private insurance. 90% of them are just coming onto the government dole as the people who already could have had it, just didn't know it. And so we've got this multi-billion-dollar marketing campaign telling people, hey, guess what? You qualify for Medicaid. Come on over.
Craig, the Obamacare expert, is on the line. Craig, what have you heard about the success rate of people trying to sign up generally?
Well, you guys have heard that in the media, and you've talked about it a lot. It's been horrific. I mean, you've got people that have made something like 40 attempts, put in 2 solid days, and they can't get through. I'll tell you that the one place where I've heard it being a little bit better than average is California. I actually have a colleague does what I do who was able to get through after a couple days and get his whole family a quote. But as you've heard, the horror stories are, and I don't know if you heard this specific tech element, one of the things you have to do to successfully navigate the federal sites is go in and clear the cache in the history of your web browser, and less than 5% of web users even know how to do that.
Why would you have to clear the cache?
Because the system and the technology they're using is 5+ years old. It's completely like Web 1.0 stuff that shouldn't have been done. But again, when you have HHS and Medicare and Medicaid designing websites, you're headed for DMV, baby.
Hey, I've got one more quick question. If this all goes to poo, and it appears to be heading that way, and the president and his buddies will be glad, I think, because they want single payer, does the insurance industry have a plan? Do they have a giant marketing campaign strategy, et cetera, for not seeing the end of private health care?
I wish I had a better answer for you. The answer is probably not. The insurers that I'm talking to are starting to say things like they're going to focus more on life, disability, and dental. They're just kind of almost conceding that private insurance may go away. Now, there is a long-term plan out there. There is a conservative, or I'd say libertarian ideology for healthcare that can work, and it's high deductibles with insurance accounts that go with it. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds for you, but that's something that in this political environment would be almost untenable. The real question is, if this thing blows up in the next 2 months, can the insurance industry stand as it is with the applicants they have in the system, and what will happen to our premiums? And I honestly don't know the answer, other than they're going to go up even more because you're going to end up with X number of 100,000 people signed up that are incredibly sick, and we're not going to kick them out once they're in, even if Obamacare does explode.
Wow. Craig, the Obamacare expert.
Best report ever.
Craig, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
You're fantastic. We'll talk soon.
That was good stuff right there. Yep.
Yes, God. And the website really stank for the first week.
This could all blow up in an election year. What that's going to look like. Good for talk radio. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.